Welcome to the Don't Make That Twice, Reuse It and Share It breakout session. In this breakout session, we will be discussing a variety of shareable files that you can create and use in Spec. Once they are created one time, they can then be shared with others or reused for other projects without having to make them another time. Just a little bit of information about me. My name is Julie Hart. I am a senior training specialist here at Configura. I specialize in all things spec, and I'm always learning more in CET as I continue to teach that as well. I love being outdoors and gardening. I love traveling and trying different foods. I love taking pictures of architecture and looking at unique architectural elements. It's always just kind of drawn my eye, particularly with photography. And then a little bit about me personally. I am married. You can see my husband there with our 5-year-old who just started kindergarten this year. We also have an almost 12-year-old and a 20-year-old. And we all love to camp, do bonfires, roast marshmallows, and we have 2 wonderful little kitty girls and a big puppy lab mix that we love. The first thing that we're going to talk about is file management, because Spec does have several different files that you can create and share as part of a PMX file. We will talk about where you can save those different files, as they do all have default save locations, but you can actually change where those save locations are located. So if you were to open up your Network Explorer, in your Documents folder, you are going to automatically receive a Project Spec user folder. In that Project Spec user folder, there will be a series of subfolders that will save all of the various files that you can create and share in Spec. To get to your default storage locations, you will go to the Tools tab, select Settings, go to Storage Locations, change the default locations for your file storage, and then click OK to save any changes. So here in Spec, I have my Network Explorer folder open. If I double click on that Project Spec user folder, I can see I have all of my individual subfolders there. If I come to Tools on Spec and then open my Settings, the second tab in my settings are the various storage locations. Each of these storage locations corresponds with these folders. The only one that does not have a different location is your custom folder that we will talk about when creating custom catalogs. Your discount table folder here correlates to the discount table path there. Print templates, project information. Quotes is going to be your user files, and this is where all of the PMX files that you start in Spec, the SIFs that you import, or the SIFs that you export will be saved at by default. Again, you can change that location. To change any of your user file locations, click on the Change Location button here, and then simply navigate through your network tree to determine where you want to point that particular folder. If you are sharing network sharing files, you can point to that network drive there as well. Anytime you change a location, click OK to save that change. The reason we have to make a distinction between your file that you use here in Spec and the file that you export is because your SIF file is kind of like a caveman. It's a very basic file that contains data only. It's strictly numbers, letters, characters in a basic spreadsheet format. A PMX, on the other hand, is more like an astronaut. It contains the SIF data in a database, making it more easily manipulated, as well as any image files, project info, discount tables that are attached or saved, spreadsheet views that are created, swatches, material mapping data, and all of the extra bells and whistles that go into the PMX on top of the SIF. Both the SIF file and the PMX file are shareable, but if you want to share all of this information with anyone, they will have to have Spec, as a PMX is a proprietary file type for Spec. So how do I share my file? There are a few different ways that you can share your file in Spec. The first way is you can always export through the File tab. You can export a PMX file here, which will include all of those extra files such as swatch data, material mapping, images, etc. Or you can export a standard SIF. This standard SIF, again, will only contain the actual numbers and raw data that goes into the spreadsheet, not the actual tables or swatches or things like that. If you are in CET, we do have that View Parts and Spec button from CET that allows you to bring the PMX over as well. So you can always share your main PMX and or SIF file with any user. If you are sharing that PMX, please make sure that that user has a license of Spec in order to view the PMX. The next type of file that we are going to talk about is our spreadsheet view template. You can create a custom view based on your position at your job there at the dealership, or based on the portion of the project that you are working on. If you're working on discounting versus optioning, adding parts versus organizing, grouping, and sorting for budgeting. You can change your view based off of that, and Spec will remember the last saved view template and then automatically apply that view every time you open Spec. You can adopt the view of a spreadsheet that you share or import, and that is in settings. So let's head over and talk about how you can create your own custom view template. I already have one listed here, but to do that, we're going to come to the View tab and select the Adjust Columns. Here in the Adjust Columns, you can see we do have already created templates for you that you can use as a starting point to create your own user template. You can create an unlimited number of user templates and share these user templates so that everyone in the same department has that same view. You can turn columns on or off simply by checking the checkbox in front of that column. You can also change the name of a column by double-clicking on the name of that column and then typing in what you would like to change that column to. And then once you have made all of the changes here for your view. To save that user template, click the little plus sign here, name it, click OK, and then select it here with the radio button, click Save to save that view to your spreadsheet. You can also change the order of the columns if you wish. You can simply left click, hold that left click down on a column header, and then drag that column to a new location in your spreadsheet. Once you have placed your columns in the correct order that you wish to see them, come back to your Adjust Columns, make sure that your view is selected, and click Save. Now that spreadsheet view will have that column order. You can save your column size. So if you auto size your columns, you can save that column size. You can also manually adjust that size. Simply come back to Adjust Columns and click Save anytime you make a change. Once you have completed that spreadsheet view, if you wish to share it, come here into your project spec user file. Your spreadsheet templates are where those are. Simply attach this file to an email or Teams, and you can then send that via email, and people will simply place that in their own spreadsheet template folder to become available for use by them. And I have the instructions and step-by-step how to do that on this slide here. Right, and then there is a nice little GIF here that just reminds you how to do that. We do also have what is called a custom catalog. A custom catalog is a way for you to create line items that you would have to manually enter on a regular basis. When you create a custom catalog, you can edit the quantities, the descriptions, and the options, and the list price. Only that list price will save in a custom catalog. When you are creating a custom catalog, you will only use a brand new PMX file in order to start that. So I am going to come here to File, New, and instead of saving in my default quotes folder, I'm going to want to save this in my custom folder. And it will open a new spreadsheet where I can then manually enter the line items that I wish. So if it is something along the lines of an Amazon purchase, I can put that in. And put in my description. And then come over for my list price and put that in. And I can continue adding items as needed. And continue this until I have everything in that I want to include in that catalog. I'm going to hit save up here in my quick access menu just to make sure that I have saved all of the items in my catalog, close that catalog, come down to my custom tab in my catalog information window. It is not here yet, but if I right click, hit refresh, you can see that now there is that custom catalog where I can just left click and drag line items into my spreadsheet. You can include folders and organize this in any way that makes the most sense to you. Because these files that you use to create a custom catalog are a PMX file, you can share that PMX file and other users can simply drop it into their custom folder and refresh to use it here in their custom catalog tab in the catalog information window. All right. Our next file, it's actually more of a tool that allows you to bring another file in, and that is our merge files. We recommend using this tool when you have typicals that you want to bring into a project that you have already started. The merge file allows you to bring in any other PMX or SIF file into a current project. It will bring them in as a group of line items that you can edit all at the single time, save, and then when you open the file in your project, it will have all of those changes included. And you don't have to option it out or anything like that if it's already done. So to do this, I'm going to come over here into Spec and go to the Home tab. The merge tools are found in the middle of the Home tab. If I want to insert a typical right here on line 6, I simply highlight line 6, hit the merge button, select my file, and make sure that you are in where your projects are. It will take you to the previous custom folder because that is the last folder that you opened. There's my typical file. Click open. You can see that this does act as a single line item here. I can select this line and move it up and down if I need to place it in a very specific location in my spreadsheet. I can also change the quantity. So if I know I need 10 of this typical, I can put the quantity 10 in there and it's going to multiply every item in this sheet by 10. If I need to just double check to make sure I have all of the parts and pieces, I can edit that file before expanding it and inserting the lines. Click that Edit Merge button and you can see that it has opened up that merge typical file where I can then make any changes that I need to at this point. I can add options or tags here, but it will save to your master file. So if you don't want to make those changes here and make them in the spreadsheet once you bring it in, you can do that. You may just want to do a quick price from catalog to ensure that all of your parts and pieces have the most updated pricing. Click Save. Close your typical file. Now you are ready to go ahead and expand this out to include these lines. So I will come back to Home, click Expand Merge. I want all of my lines. And now all of my lines are included from that merge file. And because this is just a PMX that anybody can bring in, a single person can create one typical file, share the PMX, and everyone can save that PMX in their folders for use. Here are the exact steps that you can use to bring in that merge file. Next, we have our standard options. Standard options are a way for you to save finish standards for a client, not only to a project, but for future use, particularly if you know that that client is going to be returning. A standard options table allows you to apply those standard finishes either generally or with criteria that you designate, and applies those finishes to those line items as long as they don't already have options included. The different criteria that you can save your standard options with include the part number, catalog code, manufacturer code, and any of your 5 tagging categories. You can save it as client finish profiles. They will automatically save with the project, but you have to export them to either share or to use them in another project. So here in my presentation, you can see that I have a little GIF that is showing you very quickly how you can save standard options either with criteria or in a general way. Open that up. It's named, and you can see that those standard options are saved, and you can rename that and then simply pull those in using that open button in your standard options table. So here on options, if I edit my standard options, I can save as, and that will save those standard options in a table. If I already have a project with standard options, I can open those, select those standard options, click open, and it will open those here. And then you can close this, run your option all, and it's going to apply those standards based on the criteria that you have created in your spreadsheet. Those options are not selected, so you may actually have to select the options and save them to your standard options table in order to apply to anything later on in the spreadsheet. I'm just saving them generally right now so that they will apply to everything as I go through. Once it's complete, you will get the notification that it is complete and you have applied your standard options to your entire spreadsheet. The next thing that we have are our visual icons. We have a column in Spec called the icon column, and the only icon that we have designated any meaning to is the conversation bubble, which is present if you put a comment in the comment column in Spec. Otherwise, the rest of these icons do not have any specific meaning or definition. You can define these icons and the colors for the icons any way you wish. You can also create your own and then share those by directing Spec to look at a newly created folder. So the first thing you're going to need to do is make sure that you have your icon column turned on here in Spec. Then you will right click in that icon column to get this little pop-up menu. Select add icon and your group images here will come up. You can use these to group, sort, group and sort and designate lines with a particular meaning if that is what you would like to do. So here you guys can see that you'll need to create a new folder for your icons. I called mine Project S icon folder. And then I went into my settings and I changed my storage location for my visual icons to that Project S icon folder. And then I just saved like Google icons in there. And then once I pointed Spec to that, I was able to select a new icon, and you guys can see that icon change once I select the new black icons versus the color. And there we go, new one. Okay. You can also share discount tables. Discount structures can be highly complicated, and remembering all of the various discounts from all of the various manufacturers can be tiresome and become complicated rather quickly. Rather than trying to apply individual manufacturer discounts either by part number or generic code or even catalog, you can apply all of your discounts using specific criteria using a discount table. Once that discount structure is set up, everyone can use that same discount structure, and it will only change or affect the line items that meet the criteria. So coming into Spec, I'm going to go to the Price tab. The table discount is here. Click that icon, and I already have this set up. But to create a brand new table discount, you will click Create from Fields. Then you will select Create New, and then select the criteria that that part number must meet in order to receive a discount. All of the checkboxes that you check, that part number must meet every single one of those criteria in order for the discount to apply. If it misses a single criteria, the discount will not apply. So in this case, I recommend being a little bit more general so that you can apply more discounts at one time. Here you can see I have a 10% dealer discount from anything I purchase on Amazon. And then I set up a 15% margin on that, any items for that. Here for my Rubbermaid manufacturer, I receive a 15.5 discount, and I've set an 18 margin on that. Then for my sample manufacturer here, I actually have a tiered discount where I receive 45 from the manufacturer, 15 for my volume, and then 5 extra because we do a lot of good things for our rep. So this is my overall discount, and then I set a customer discount at 32%. Once I click apply, it will apply that to the spreadsheet. If I want to save this for the future, I can name it, apply an expiration date, apply tiers so I can do volume discounting with this table by applying tiers, etc. Hit export to save this table. Click save. If I ever wanted to bring in that table, and if you make it a master table, you can bring it into every project. All you'll do is click import DIS. Actually, here, I'm going to clear this out. Import DIS, select that table, Click open. You can see that it brings that in. Click apply to save, and now it is saved to that project with all of the discounts applied therein. Once you have created that and you save that in a singular location, again, here on the Tools tab in Settings, you can point Spec to look at that location so that it does not need to be created again. It can just be updated with the appropriate discounts. Next, we'll talk about how you can share project info. There's a couple of different ways that we have here in Spec to share project info. You can always create a hard copy of project info from a single project using the reporting tab. And then you can also create your own address book. You will just need to change your project info storage location there in your settings dialog to give everyone access to that address book. And you can also bring in previously created contacts doing that. So here is just a visual of what that project info details report looks like. You can print this directly from your reporting tab in Spec. It's this tab down here, down by your spreadsheet tab. So down at the bottom of your Spec window, there's a reporting tab. Click your drop down so that it goes to project info details, and then it's going to preview all of the project information there. To print that, simply select your print buttons from here. Then you can create and save an address book. The company address file that we provide to you is a CSV, and you'll need to save it in a location for you to remember. Because you're going to copy your master address file from your project info user folder into that new folder that you created and saved with your CSV. Once you have those saved in a single location, here in project info on your project info function tab, you can load and then import those addresses to get your full list of contacts. So once you import, you can click save and then close, and then all of those contacts become available to you here in project info. Click apply to save any project info that you create. And again, here in your tools, storage locations, project info, you can see I have changed to a different folder rather than the default folder. Okay, so it's not a project spec user folder and then a subfolder. I created a whole new folder here. Click OK to save those changes. I just have a couple visuals here to or a visual here to let you guys know kind of how to do that or where those tabs are. Then the final thing that you guys can share from Spec is the custom report templates. You can customize your printing reports from the print function. You can use branded colors, fonts, logos, images, set them up however you would like, include checkboxes and a variety of other things. In order for everyone to be able to use this, you again have to point Spec to look at a universal folder for everyone. So save it in a central location, and then everyone will point their Spec program to look at that central location. And then you select your print template file. Then you select the report that you want to print from here. Click preview, and then you can you'll export your file based on what you want. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at juliehart@configura.com, or you can always contact support, and support will be able to help you with those files. Thank you and have a wonderful day.